The story begins in a dreamy scene of a grassland. Haruka Shinozaki is an ordinary high school boy standing amidst the prairie. He also sees Akiho Kousaka, an extremely pretty girl, in front of him, but just before he could see underneath her skirt, he wakes up from his sleep. It turns out that he was dreaming while asleep in his classroom. In front of him, he sees his high school crush, Akiho, the same girl he saw in his dream. She's the ideal student, great at studies and sports, and is the class representative. Haruka decides that he has waited long enough to confess his love and decides to take action. Mustering up some courage, he confesses at sundown and, to his surprise, she says yes. Although this does come with a weird statement, she promises him that she will memorize all 48 sex positions so that she may be a better girlfriend to him. When the next day begins, Akiho tells him that she would want to learn more about him. She begins by questioning Haruka about his sexual preferences, leaving him to wonder whether their blossoming romance will turn romantic. The following day, Shizuku, a childhood friend of Haruka's, arrives to his class and becomes overcome with emotion at finding that Haruka has a girlfriend. She extends an invitation for them to hang out with her. When Akiho sees how well matched the two are, she begins to feel envious of their relationship. Haruka reassures her that there's nothing but friendship between them and is thankful to Akiho for making efforts to strengthen their bond. They walk back home, reflecting on their budding romance. It's raining, and Akiho forgot to bring her umbrella to school. She's stuck there, waiting for the rain to end, just when Haruka offers for her to share his umbrella. The idea of sharing an umbrella with her boyfriend makes her blush, and she's too embarrassed to accept. He returns home, and there his sister, Kanata, rushes into his room, seeking affection. His excitement is cut short when Haruka tells her that he now has a girlfriend. The next day at school, Kanata tries to sneak into Haruka's class so that she can see who had entranced her brother. While the two are busy arguing outside class, Akiho stumbles upon the two. Haruka reluctantly introduces her to Kanata, who takes the opportunity as a challenge. She starts boasting about how close she is to her brother. Akiho misinterprets the meaning of this and thinks that the conversation alluded to something sexual instead. But Haruka clears up any misunderstandings that she had during the lunch break. Just then, Kanata interrupts the two and says that she wants to eat lunch with her brother. In the process, she accidentally pushes Akiho, causing her to fall. Realizing that she went too far, Kanata apologizes to her and the two finally make up. The following day, Akiho makes her lover lunch but is heartbroken when it doesn't work out well. Shizuku then shows up just as hope is about to be lost. Akiho pleads with her to teach her how to cook. She accepts and the two get to work. They cook a delicious meal over at Shizuku's house. Haruka is there as well, and he overhears the two making fun of him and taunting him in a playful manner. On their walk back home, it starts to rain again, but this time Akiho asks Haruka to share an umbrella with her. A few days later, Akiho informs her parents that her new boyfriend, Haruka, is coming to visit them. Her father, Natsuo, isn't so accepting of the idea. Seeing how he is worked up after hearing the news, Akiho's mother, Fuyumi, asks Natsuo to go on a walk for a while. While the two are outside, Haruka knocks on the door and is greeted by Fuyumi. At first, due to the mother-daughter similarities, Haru mistakes Fuyumi for Akiho. He discovers how similar his girlfriend is to her mother after spending a day listening to adult jokes, although he does get along with her father. The next day comes to a close and Haruka leaves, thanking Akiho and her parents. The next day, he and Akiho decide to go on a date. They visit a cafe and then watch a movie. The day concludes as usual, but at the end, Akiho is disappointed because she realizes that she couldn't give enough attention to Haruka due to being fixated on the movie they watched. To cheer her up, Haruka proposes another date so that they can watch the cherry blossoms together. But this plan of theirs is cut short as Akiho catches an illness. She does recover, but not in time to view the cherry blossoms. So they once more make a promise to watch the cherry blossoms together in the following year. The next day, a new transfer student, Rina, arrives in their class. She gives a haphazard introduction and confuses everyone in the process. Akiho and Haruka approach her after she has introduced herself and learn that she just wanted to make new friends. She seems to be inexperienced with using language to convey her feelings, and she tells them that she wanted to deepen her friendship with the boys. Later that day, Haruka introduces her to Shizuku, which leads to some more misunderstandings between the two. The day ends and Rina kisses her new companions, Haru and Akiho, on the cheek to say goodbye, turning them bright red. The next day the couple decides to take Shizuku and their new friend to the zoo. Coincidentally, at the same time, Akiho's parents decide to take a trip to the zoo as well. Over at the place, the gang looks at various animals, all the while making overly sexual remarks about Haruka's wiener. Akiho's parents are enjoying their visit to the zoo as well, despite Natsuho's back pain. The sun begins to set and everyone begins to leave. To give the pair some privacy, Shizuku takes Rina with her. Another day at school, Akiho approaches Haruka with an odd request. She says that she wants him to avoid speaking with her so that she may learn what he is thinking. The others in the class misunderstand the situation and rumors about Haruka making her work start spreading. Not soon afterward, Shizuku and Rina follow suit, complicating the situation. After the school day is over, Akiho heads over to a meeting with the student council. She tells Saori Igarashi, the representative, that it would be preferable if students were permitted to carry indecent novels during the meeting. Hearing this makes her furious, but another representative, Sayo Shizumori, the following day, Akiho struggles to get rid of her hiccups. They attempt a number of several cures, but none are successful. They move to the science lab where Shizuku is hiding in a cupboard to scare her while they search for another route. But then, out of the blue, she begins to hear suspicious whispers and emerges embarrassed. She realizes that Haruka was trying to stop Akiho's hiccups by inserting paper in her nose. Akiho's hiccups stop, but Shizuku leaves embarrassed after misunderstanding the situation. Summer finally arrives and the main duo changes into their summer uniform before going to school. They see Seiya Hoshikawa, a student in their class, as females swarm around him outside the school. Seeing this, Haruka thinks that he is incredibly popular with the girls. Later, he sees Akiho chatting with him in the school hallway, which makes him feel a bit apprehensive. He approaches the two after mustering enough courage and learns that Seiya just wants to make male friends. Haruka gladly offers to be his friend, but Akiho is on the edge as it seems that Seiya isn't being totally honest with his intentions. Lunch break arrives and the students go to the rooftop to decorate the tree for the Tanabata festival. Haruka hangs up his wish after being harassed by sexual jokes. He wishes to spend the next year's festival with Akiho. A baseball tournament is approaching and Haruka plans on impressing his girlfriend. His skills are lackluster, so he turns to Seiya, who offers to teach him how to play. Seiya uses suggestive language and Akiho is suspicious of the two doing some questionable things, but nothing happens. Soon, the tournament day arrives and Haruka goes on to play. He performs very poorly and fails to impress Akiho. She, however, believes the opposite and is content that he gave it his all for her. A school trip is announced for Haruka's class and everyone is eager to go. Everyone pitches in with their ideas for the activities during the trip but fails to agree on anything. Just then, Igarashi, who is generally a silent kid, presents her idea for the test of courage, and everyone accepts it. The trip leaves and the gang continues with their sexual jokes. Night falls and the students get ready to participate in the test of courage. Akiho is afraid that Seiya might try something unethical, and her fears come true when he shows up in a risque outfit. His appearance causes a ruckus and they end up in a dubious position. Seeing this causes Iragashi to start crying, which leads to the activity being cancelled as a whole. Later that night, Haruka invites Akiho to his talk. She is concerned that he may be up to something erotic, but still ends up going. Turns out that he only wanted to observe the view with her, as the two hold hands. After returning to school from the trip, Iragashi is upset that all the couples seem to be closer. She enters a room that the couple just left and finds Shizumori spying on them from a cabinet. The two get physical but end up getting locked in the cabinet together. Just then, Haruka enters the room with his sister, Kanata. He accidentally spills milk on her face, but the two inside the cabinet misunderstand the situation. Haruka notices the noise and opens the cabinet, causing the two inside to run off. After gathering herself, Iragashi goes to face Haruka in hopes of telling him off about his perverted activities. While berating her, she exposes her panties and becomes extremely embarrassed. Haruka offers to help her, and Iragashi concludes that he isn't a particularly horrible guy as a result. The girl takes a swimming lesson as the day goes on. After it's over, Akiho remembers that she left her underwear at home and goes to the gym without them to fetch her exercise clothes. On her way, Haruka invites her to join him for lunch, and she is unable to decline. She follows her inconveniently, but quickly loses all hope. She attempts to remove her skirt to show him after he thanks her for supporting his selfishness due to her emotional outburst, but he intervenes, diverting the situation without incident. A few days later, Akiho's father suffers a back injury, forcing the pair to postpone their date. However, Haru had already reached the location. Over there, he runs into Shizuku just as he's ready to leave. The two decide to spend the day together. They begin the day with some shopping. After that, they have a filling, spicy meal before ending their evening with a movie. In an attempt to fluster him, Shizuku jokingly invites him over since her parents weren't home. But to her surprise, he accepts, making her embarrassed. Back at her house, while trying to pull a joke on Haruka, she accidentally locks herself in handcuffs. Haruka takes care of her for the rest of the day while trying to locate the key. She seems glad that her childhood friend hadn't changed at all. At the end of the day, the two discover that the lost key was in Shizuku's pocket all along. The following day, Akiho makes a lunchbox for her lover as an expression of her regret about cancelling the date. But she makes little progress and ends up creating an unhealthy concoction. Haruka understood the effort she had put into making it and pleaded with her to let him eat it, despite it looking unappetizing. Exams draw near, and Haruka searches for a study partner to prepare for the exams. Everyone he asked seemed to be more interested in making jokes rather than studying, so he ends up preparing for the exams at home with Kanata. The two study hard, and Kanata thanks her brother for always being there for her. The next day, everyone has already left school after the exams, but Haruka is still sleeping in the class. Akiho approaches him, but he wakes up right then. She pretends to be asleep, and Akiho pats her head lovingly, causing her to get up and run away while blushing. He runs after her and catches her in the corridor, apologizing. She smiles and pats his head in turn. A few days later, the class is out sketching for their art class. Haruka approaches Akiho to serve as the model after trying to find someone. He notices that she is glazing mesmerizingly at him, and in that moment he utters the words, "I love you." She ducks in shame at this, but manages to gather her strength and respond with, "I love you too," as the two of them clasp hands. She might be a little different from what he had expected, but Haruka claims that he still loves her.